In this lab, we're going to be studying the molar volume of a gas, and we'll be looking at the gas contained in a rigid container, this 125 milliliter flask. And to do that, we first really need to know the volume of this. And it's not a 125 milliliter flask in its total volume, even though that's the marking. That will be about here on the flask. There's still a lot of space here. So to determine the actual volume of it, we're going to need to fill it with water and determine what volume of water was inside the flask. So I'm going to do this using the density of water so I can be as accurate as possible. I don't have anything that will measure volume as accurately as this scale will measure mass. So I'm first going to take the mass of this flask with the stopper in it, and I'm going to zoom up on this. Hopefully you can see it now, but if not, we're at 99.890 grams. So I filled the flask with water and placed the stopper in the same position it'll be in, as tightly as I can when it's filled with the gas. And the water comes right to the very top, like I can see it in the holes of my stopper. And I'm going to use Chem wipes to wipe off any excess water on the outside of the flask that won't represent space that a gas would occupy. And I'll put it back in here. All right, and we can record this. It looks like we're at 241.266 grams. Come up a little closer for you. All right, so now we have the mass of the flask and the stopper, and we also have the mass of the flask and the stopper with water in it. The last piece of information we need to accurately determine the volume of water that we have is the temperature of this water. Density is temperature dependent. So we're going to use the mass and the density of water at this specific temperature of water to determine the actual volume that occupied our flask. And so I'm letting this sit in here for a little bit. Pardon my adjustment. There we go. So it looks like it's at about 24 degrees Celsius. We're going to estimate one digit past that. And so if you decide that's 24.0 or 23.9 or 24.1 or 2, make that call based on what you're seeing here. All right, now with this information, you should be able to use the density of water table based on temperature in your lab manual to determine the volume of space inside this flask that the gas will be able to occupy.